Hey guys, welcome to the Cat Spear podcast. My name is John, and this week we have none other than the Freshwater Spearo, the legend, Big Jake Lord, joining us from Utah. What's up, Jake?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. This week we're going to be covering all things freshwater spearfishing, including, freshwater obstacles, species, regulations, how to get started, and actually today we're going to be talking about a primer of if you want to go freshwater spearfishing, what you need to kind of consider. So, Jake, what's the kind of like the right gear a freshwater spearo should buy before they get into the lakes?
Yeah, so I mean, the way I kind of started was all I had was a mask, a snorkel, one of those yellow trident pole spears that somebody gave me down in Lake Powell, and a pair of scuba fins that he probably got from Walmart. And it was one of those things where like he showed me how to do it, and I was just like, after that I was addicted because I'd kind of grown up fishing slash fly fishing, being in the Boy Scouts and like always in the outdoors. Once I grabbed this pole spear, it was a complete game changer, and I'm like, how have I not found this 10 years ago? So yeah, I mean, as far as the gear goes, yeah, if you want to go out and spend $1,000 to $2,000 on gear, go right ahead. But if you want to like figure out, hey, if do I want to figure out spearfishing, if it's something fun, and do I want to do it? And hey, if you're in Utah and you need to borrow gear, hit me up. I'm more than welcome and very happy to lend you out some gear just so you can try it out. Or heck, I'll take you to a few spearfishing spots.
Dude, that's awesome. For your neck of the woods, people are probably rocking what, 5 mil, 7 mil? It gets pretty cold up there. Is there some special kind of considerations for spearfishing in the cold? Is it harder to dive down or?
Yeah, so as far as like you're probably not going to get as long as breath hold, and I can actually, me personally, I can feel the difference in the elevation, like going from the mountains. So I live at about 5,000 feet in elevation or above sea level, and going down to Mexico, and it's like, holy cow, I've got a longer breath hold and I can dive deeper. But I do feel like in the mountain or just, higher up elevation, most of the fish are within that 30 to 40 feet in depth, like or below the surface. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And then comparing, I guess, just in general for lakes, you're doing mainly lakes more so than rivers, and then it can vary between murkiness, right? So is it usually pretty clear? Or is it like always kind of like you're dealing with like 15 foot or less of viz because of the mud flare ups with your fins and things?
Yeah, so I would probably say, I mean, it just depends on the lakes. Like most of the lakes in Utah, from what I found, are you can get visits anywhere from 10 to 15 feet, and then you can go up to Wyoming, and there's some lakes where you can get like 30 to 40 feet, which is incredible.
Okay, that's dope. And then so I know you went down for I think it was like Blue Water Nationals down in Baja. So you now have some really good like freshwater to saltwater spearfishing comparisons. Like, what are the big differences and takeaways have you seen?
Yeah. So yeah, competing in the Blue Water World Cup with Chase Ames and Brett Layable, and Brett lived down in the Baja for like 3 months, and he was kind of showing Chase and I, and Chase has done a little bit of blue water too, but and I was just like a complete noob to it. So I had done blue water, but not like in the water for 8 hours a day for 4 days, and like so obviously like, and I like to film some of my stuff just to like either get better at it and see like the fish being shot. And after missing like two big Wahoo, and I'm asking these guys, I'm like, how do I stop missing? And they're like, well, you got to do a duck dive or blow out all your air so you're at least a foot below the surface, because there's like so much current, and you don't realize that there's current because there's nothing to compare it to. Where in freshwater, like you have no problem shooting things from the surface. Like if a fish swam up to you, like a walleye or even a trout swam up to you, you would have no problem shooting it from the surface because there's no current.
Interesting. So when you were at the surface and those wahoo were coming by and you pulled the trigger, was it pretty much like a horizontal shot, like right under the surface, like was it swimming by you,
Yeah,
and then it just like
yeah.
the shaft just kind of
It
like
it was
got
it was
knocked?
either two. too high or too low.
Wow.
And and then after that it was just it would oh, just thinking I had like a 60-pound wahoo rip my monoline off of my breakaway, and it still haunts me.
Oh, the joys and perils of Baja, man. The ones that you don't bring in, they really do scar deep.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially like because grabbed I saw the float line take off, and my float was flying by me, and I'm just like, and I'm swimming after my float and float line as fast as I can, and then I just see the float line go loose, and I'm like, holy cow! And then I'm reeling it in, and I had like, a slip. It was a slip tip too. So I'm like, dude, it was double crimped. So it literally, and it was 400 pound test monoline, and it literally it broke the monoline off of like the shooting line connection. Yeah.
Oh man, could there have been like some abrasion or
For
like
sure.
a little nick
Yeah,
somewhere and
for
it
sure
just
could have.
snapped? Or
But like, I just feel like, it was, I still think about it. Makes me want to go down the Baja and just shoot a wahoo.
I was about to say it's what brings you back. I'll be going back on Monday because it's like I have some unfinished business to do as well. Have you been bringing any saltwater tactics into freshwater?
Yeah. So, believe it or not, so my dive partner Chase Ames, he was diving up in Pinedale, up in Wyoming, and there's big Lakers up there, and he's just like, "Hey, I've got this throw flasher. Let's try it out because there's a bunch of stalkers, like stock rainbow." So he throws this flasher out, and sure enough, a big 20-pound Laker comes in on it, big 20-pound lake trout, and he shoots it, and he's like, "This is so crazy! I just shot a lake trout off of my flasher."
That's so cool.
So then after Blue Water World Cup, I went up there and tried it, and sure enough, these big lake trout come in on these flashers, which is like crazy.
Have you just seen the lake trout come in on them, or have you seen other ones, the Brooks and Browns, take notice?
No, yeah, I've mostly just seen the lake trout on them.
That's perfect. All right, well, I think that's good for this episode, guys. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about even more in depth about how you can get started freshwater spearfishing, so be sure to tune in. Thanks, Jake, for being on the show. Hey, guys, one more thing before you go. You can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and your favorite podcast app. And if you like the podcast, please consider rating it on Apple Podcasts and leaving a review. This helps other people find the show. Thanks.